Life is all important, every bit of it, and people have an opportunity on hospice to die with dignity and to take time to realize the importance of their life.
Volunteers are really essential to the care we provide. Volunteers are often referred to as the heart of hospice care, and I think it's because they're really the only person that goes in without an agenda. They're not there for wound care or pain and symptom management, but they're really there to see how they can most be of service to the patient and the family.
I've often thought of it like we're allowed into the inner circle for those patients and those families, and it's a real privilege to us. Those of us that work in hospice find that it's a gift to our lives to be able to be there.
I think the perception of end of life can, for some people, can mean a lot of sadness, difficulty, pain, and it doesn't have to be like that.
You know, I'm my mother's caregiver, and so one of the hard things about caring for a parent is swapping roles, so that I'm now taking care of my mother rather than my mother taking care of me. So that's the role that I'm in a lot. It's hard to have space and time to do anything other than the getting in and out of bed and cleaning and cooking and feeding and medicines and all of that. So one of the things that Brenda can do is she just comes to hang with my mom.
Hey Brenda. Hi Sarah, how are you? I'm good.
I really wanted her to have somebody that wasn't a family member to come and to be with her and to develop a relationship.
Midge is I smile when I say it because Midge seems, when you first meet her, like a very serious person. However, I found out through being with her what a great sense of humor she has. I try to find subjects that we have in common. We have spent some time developing a grandmother's book for her granddaughter, which has really been fun. And it's also made her go back and think about some of her past life, which I think has been good for her. She has a great interest in show music, and we've spent some time listening to CDs. And she just lays back and really falls into it and enjoys every minute of it.
You know, the hard thing about being 86 and the illnesses that my mom has is she could live another 10 years. I don't think so. Or tomorrow morning when I go in to see her, she could have died in her sleep, which to me is the best, would be the best. That's what we hope for our mother. That's why we brought her home, because we didn't want her to be alone in a nursing facility. We wanted her to be with us.
I think when people enter that stage of their life, they don't know how they're going to feel. There's a lot of emotional transition for them, and I like being part of that transition.
She comes in just to be with my mom and to show interest in who my mom is other than a body with illness. So that's the thing that she can provide that I can't provide. It makes my mom happy, and that makes me happy.
Hospice of Southern Maine is a nonprofit organization. We're the only freestanding hospice that has a hospice inpatient facility in Southern Maine.
The Gosnell Memorial Hospice House was opened in August of 2007, and this is a wonderful place that feels like home. It's a sacred place, and people can go there at the end of life to die if it is not possible for them to be at home or for other reasons. It might be what the family is most comfortable with.
I think when people walk through these doors, they're anxious, they're apprehensive, they don't know what to expect. I think that what a volunteer brings here is that emotional connection, not only with the patient, but with the family.
My dad was a guy who made people smile. He made people laugh. He was outgoing, people liked him, and he loved having grandkids. He was a good grandpa. We decided on a Thursday morning that it was time for hospice. We got him to Gosnell House at 4 p.m. and at 10 in the morning or the next day, the nurse called and said that his breathing had changed.
And so the nurse that was working that day said, you know, I'm calling the family, would you mind sitting with him? And so I sat with him. And I held his hand, and we just were quiet, and it was very quick, very peaceful.
Because he had a fear of death, we were hoping to be able to be there with him when he passed. And because we weren't, it was so meaningful to us to have Buffy there with him and holding his hand when he went.
It's really an honor and a privilege to have been present for that part of someone's life, which it is part of life.
It's been a month and a half since my dad has passed, and it's wonderful to see Buffy. And again, thank her for her being here and being there for him when he needed someone there.
Being present with someone who is making this end-of-life journey is so spiritual and so precious that you feel that yourself, and you come away with something that you didn't have before.
Every single patient is a gift. Every patient that I have seen has left something with me that I consider a treasure.
The relationships that develop between volunteers and the hospice patients and the family members, or any member of the hospice team, can be quite extraordinary. And that's one of the privileges, I think, of working in hospice, is knowing that you can really make a difference in people's lives.
We were here for about, I think, probably 6 months before one day we decided to play cribbage.
I told you after the cut. He means something to look forward to on Thursdays, because we just have a good time together. One week he'll win, another week I'll win, and it's just good-natured companionship. When Pete usually gets here, probably the first thing that would happen, he's going to stop in the kitchen where Barb will usually be.
My check-in is primarily to just see where her head is, how stressed she is, and what's going on in her life. And try to get some clues to what her needs might be.
Then he would probably drop in here. We would break out the cards and the cribbage board and go to it. We need a third player for game.
Somebody to beat on?
Yeah.
We laugh most of the time when people come and go. They say, geez, all you guys do is laugh. And we do. We have a good time.
It's quite amazing when a volunteer comes in and works with a family. It's almost like they become part of that family. The family is in a vulnerable place, so they open up to the volunteer, and the volunteer fits right in and supports them.
Pete has indicated to me if I need him, he would probably drop everything and be with me. And that means one hell of a lot.
Well, I don't think that anything can really prepare you for what it's like to lose a parent. The emotional impact is huge. Patients and their families receive grief support during the time that somebody is on services with us, Sometimes that's anticipatory grief to address those needs. But after a patient has died, a family receives bereavement support for 1 year following the death. That might take place individually with one-on-one, or it could be in an 8-week support group that people can attend. And sometimes a volunteer will go to their home. Sometimes it's part of our bereavement services provided by interns or by staff.
Well, when I work with a family member who has lost someone who's interested in the bereavement service, I will go to the person's home and sit down and talk with that individual. Tell me about what it's like. Tell me about your husband or whomever you lost. What was he like? What is your day like now?
It's been a long time, and I still just wish my mom would come through the door and say, hey, how about a cup of coffee?
My role really is to reassure, to listen and to reassure. This is part of the process. This is what happens. It's obviously important to have family, but it's just as important to have somebody who knows what bereavement looks like.
As I reflect on it, I think that having someone from hospice helped to make me process the change in my life in a healthy way. I first thought that hospice was only for the person, like my mom, going through the process. But now I realize that hospice very much was for me. That it takes a lot to get used to having someone so important in your life be absent.
Hospices get great gifts from their volunteers, but I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, going through hospice volunteer training has changed my life.
For me, hospice is something that's brought more meaning to my life, apart from the birth of my children, than anything I have known. It makes such a difference in the way people die.
Anybody can be the right candidate to volunteer. It's someone who has a sense of this work and wants to learn more and wants to serve others.
I think the thing that I would say to remember above all else is that you learn as you go along, and your teachers are your patients.